From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Good morning, listener. Welcome to the Championship. How to decorate your house. Do the garden nicely in winter show.
Tune, Black White Army.
We're not talking football this morning. It's a game.
I am. Come on.
It's a game for ruffians.
Newcastle United Juniors 4, Chelsea 1. The comeback of Chelsea's.
It should have been 6, Steve. Honestly, Trippier should have put that one in.
Chelsea, happy days, lads. Happy days. Talk football all day. Well, 2 hours dedicated to the black and whites this morning.
Oh dear.
Thankfully, we're going to avoid that.
Well, with talk about championship defeats.
Well, we can talk. We can talk about the great El Tel today, lads.
Yeah,
because,
we can.
He passed in the weekend, and what a top manager he was. We can talk about that. So that'll take you out of some of your misery, lads.
Thanks.
Yeah. And do you know what else we've got that's going to cheer us all up?
What's that?
Do you know what's back? Do you know what it is? It's backed by Zero Demand. What the fact?
Yes,
it's back today.
I actually love it. It's my favourite thing.
Yes, I love it. It's better than that show and tell.
Whoa, hey, you've got feelings as well, right?
Don't encourage him, please.
I'm busy working away in the background on a version of Squid Game as well for you guys.
Oh, I tell you what, I love that. Although it's calamari over here.
I love a good squid. on a morning. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
We know that you spend half the show on the toilet, Dave.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, there's an impressive breakfast thought for everyone listening.
Well, hey fellas, I can give you a more impressive thought this breakfast time. Down in London we were, Friday night for a do, spent all day Saturday walking around. 26,000 steps.
Wow.
You what? Jeez. Over 17 kilometres walked. Wonderful.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and you got the Stanner stair lift up all of them.
Hey! Give it all junk a home.
Other stair lifts are available, guys.
Of course.
I love it. How did the awards go? Did you bring home the bacon?
Did you win an award, Dave?
No.
Dear.
Oh, no.
No, there weren't awards to be dished out. There weren't awards to be dished out like that. It's my business and this TV production we do of all the motor racing in Asia. It was the end of season awards night for all the drivers and the teams who'd won things. So sorry.
Oh, okay.
The lad wasn't up for an award. It's unless you put me in a car and make me win, then I wasn't up for an award. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I would like to see that though.
What? Me win an award?
You just putting your leather gloves on and kind of, taking a gentlemanly drive around the track with your scarf billowing behind you. Your goggles on like Mr. Toad.
Leather helmet thing. The old wind-up engine out the front. Love it.
It sounds like son of Roy Chubby Brown.
Well, we've been near the knuckle a couple of times, so I don't think we're that bad on this show.
Yeah. I think that's one Northeasterner we can't have on the show. But we love you, Chubbs.
No.
We do. We love you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where are we going
you
first?
You Garnacho's goal?
Well,
Did you guys see Garnacho's goal yesterday?
Garnacho's goal.
Mate.
Oh, what?
I went and sorted out because I was putting the decorations up when you messaged. But oh my word, what a strike!
I've got to ask you a question. Garnacho or Rooney?
Garnacho,
100%.
He didn't shin it.
Rooney's was good, but
Rooney
Garnacho just hit it so
Rooney
cleanly.
shinned it.
Yeah, Rooney shinned it in.
Garnacho full connected. Like no keeper saving that one.
Let's face it, lads. His was in the Manchester derby. That was against Everton, and I think I can probably do that against Everton, lads.
Good point. You reckon?
It's been a little bit harsh, that like Steve.
I'll take that bet.
Wow. Imagine scoring past Pickford, and I'll be lifting me shirt up with a Newcastle United motif underneath.
A picture of a T-Rex on it.
Yeah, hell of a goal though. Hell of a goal.
Yeah. Oh, tremendous strike. Do you want to know where else is on the menu? Because obviously I spent hours.
Let's do it. I'm hungry.
Yesterday. Right. Well, of course, we're going to talk about LTEL. We're actually going to do that before we get to the review of the weekend's action. I think that's at least the most respect we can show the guy as well, is to talk a little bit about Terry Venables. We're going to do What the Fact, which is a doozy again, boys. I really don't know if you're going to get this one. We're going to talk about Gary Neville's comment over the weekend, and I'm a bit worried about Gary. I think somebody needs to check on him and see if he's all right, because I think he's on some sort of hallucinogenic medicine. He compared Trent Alexander-Arnold and his striking and passing of the ball to Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne, which I think is about the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard in my life. He's talking about the Liverpool player as well. I mean, it's just downright strange. So we'll have a little chat about that, because we are worried about Gary. Lewis Dunk was shown a straight red card for dissent towards Anthony Taylor in Brighton's win over Nottingham Forest.
Can't be shown a straight red for dissent.
Well, apparently it is. And this is
Really?
this is quite a neat segue. It's a story that broke in the Daily Mail yesterday by a North East based writer, Kieran Gill, who's actually tomorrow's special guest. So apparently the straight red was given for dissent. It was foul and abusive and quite personal stuff. That
doesn't class as dissent. You see, it's abusive, insulting, and offensive language. It's a different category.
Yeah,
and the reason
it was 2 yellows
separates.
And the reason why
it was 2 yellows in like matter of seconds.
All right, so it was 2 yellows. So he sent off for a second.
So he was shown a yellow, and then before the referee and then he got sent off like a matter of seconds later for a second yellow. Yeah.
That's because he wouldn't shunter him.
They're saying the second yellow wasn't a yellow. They're saying it was a straight red.
It was a red. It was straight red.
Well, I can explain the difference and why there is a difference.
We'll have a little chat about that. We'll let Dave get his rule book out and dust that off. And let's open it like a book of spells in Hogwarts. We're also going to talk a little bit about wasted talent as well. I saw a great video over the weekend. Great video over the weekend where it was Rio Ferdinand talking to Ravel Morrison. Now, Ravel Morrison, Alex Ferguson hailed him as better than Wayne Rooney as a teenager, but ultimately, I think he had a bit of a dodgy background, a bit of a harsh upbringing, and that kind of got the better of him. So we're going to talk a little bit about wasted talents, because all 3 big North East clubs have had those in abundance over the years as well. And then I guess we'd best start with some headlines first, though, shouldn't we?
Okay, we'll do this one then.
Smoggies and Proud. Boro News.
I don't want to do it this morning. That's your headlines. I'm just kidding. I have written some stuff. Oh, Borough fans, what happened on the weekend? Middlesbrough boss Michael Carrick is demanding that his players find consistency after a bad result against Bristol City on the weekend. Middlesbrough had just held the league leaders Leicester to a 1-0 win to then, albeit after an international break, find themselves losing 3-2. The result wasn't the only thing for concern as well. Engel limped off in what looked to be a bad knee injury after falling awkwardly late in the second half. But lucky for Borough, in the turnaround in the championship is always a quick one, and Borough will have a midweek game at home to Preston to try and shape their defence into something worthy of promotion. And last week's international break was also an opportunity for Nottingham Forest to send scouts to watch young Hayden Hackney. Hayden, who recently switched allegiance from Scotland to England, has been attracting more and more attention with his constant performances for both Borough and the England under-21s. Now, like earlier in the season, it seems Forest are keen to ramp up their interest going into the January window. And finally, tributes have flooded in from across the North East following the news that retired footballer and former Middlesbrough head coach Terry Venables has passed away at the age of 80. The Dagenham-born player rose to the global stage in the 60s and 70s before his managing career started in 1976, which led him to be joint head coach at Borough with Brian Robson for the 2000-2001 season. LTEL, as he was commonly referred to, will be greatly missed not only in the North East, but also across the nation for his charismatic and tactically innovative English football brain, which is taking his national team to the European Championship semi-finals in 1996 after winning trophies at club level with Barcelona and Tottenham, and also helping my country, Australia, grow as a football nation in a stint as their manager as well. LTEL, you rest in peace, you beautiful, beautiful human being. Thank you for what you did for our club, for our country, and for our game. That is your Borough Headlines.
Magpies and proud. Mags News.
Good morning, Newcastle United fans. Injury-stricken Newcastle United defied the odds again at the weekend as they hit Chelsea for 4 at St James's Park. Goals from Isaac Lascelles, Gordon and Joe Linton saw the Magpies climb to 6th in the table. Co-owner Mirdad Gadushi called for more support in the stadium from fans in a bizarre post-match tweet. The tweet reached 2 million people and was greeted with a mixed reaction from Toon fans around the world. Fans travelling to France today for the PSG Champions League match on Tuesday night had travel plans thrown into chaos with the Eurostar strike announced last night, and people are advised not to travel. Fans are advised to contact their booking agent for a refund or to rearrange. And finally, Newcastle United under-18s failed to progress in the Premier League Cup, losing 5-1 at Liverpool with Bryant grabbing the consolation goal. That's your Newcastle United headlines on Monday morning.
Mackems and proud. Black Cats News.
I won't say good morning, Sunderland fans, we'll just say morning. Speaking to the Newcastle Chronicle right after Saturday's defeat at Plymouth, Tony Mowbray said his side need to be more ruthless in front of goal. Well, duh. We work with strikers every day. I think they had 2 shots on target and scored both of them. I was a bit disappointed with the first half that we didn't get the intensity that we should have. You have to put the ball in the net. It didn't quite happen for us. We hit the post a couple of times, didn't make the keeper work enough, but we got in lots of amazing positions in the box, but didn't find the space or the pass or the combination. I'm trying not to be harsh on them, but it is frustrating. The fans made a long trip to come here today, and we have to find a way to put the ball in the net. We have to be more ruthless. They are young players, but they are footballers. They have to, he said it again, they have to be more ruthless. They have to understand we are all being judged. There was a familiar face in the Plymouth lineup as former Sunderland Academy player Ballymumba started for the hosts. The 22-year-old almost added a 3rd goal for Plymouth in the second half, but was given a good reception from Sunderland fans as he walked off the pitch. Mumba even went over to the away end to chat with some of the Black Cats supporters after the game. Mumba wasn't the only ex-Sunderland player in Plymouth's squad, as former Black Cats loanee Brendan Galloway came off the bench for the hosts in the 88th minute. The 27-year-old, who was on loan at Sunderland during their dismal 2017-18 campaign, was making his first appearance of the season after returning from an injury. And finally, despite the weekend's miserable defeat, the Black Cats will be able to rely on the unwavering support of the stadium-alike faithful when they return to Wearside with a home game against Huddersfield Town this Wednesday night. It may not come as much of a surprise that Sunderland have the largest average attendance in the Championship this season. On average, according to the website Transfer Market, 42,344 have attended the stadium alike for home matches this season. Imagine if we actually had a little bit of success. And there's your morning headlines.
Ted, Rye and Steve, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Cat and the Ten.
So,
well, they were some headlines, weren't they? They were, I'll tell you. Can we start with Eltel?
Yeah,
this one
absolutely.
Hit home for me. Obviously, obviously he worked with Brian Robson in the 2000-2001 season, joint head coach at Middlesbrough, and pretty much turned us into the club that would see, staying us in the Premier League for the next, 13 odd seasons. And he was an amazing man. I used to love, listening to him talk because his brain was just so tactical. Yeah, and I've always said that I love the tactical side of football and the way that someone like him can come up with a game plan tactically. And not only did he come in and change my club for the Boro for the good and with Brian Robson and set us up, but for Australia, he really put us on the map. So in '97, he came in for a 12-month stint as our manager, and we went to our first Confederations Cup, in which we lost the final to Brazil that year, but we went to we were runners up. Now, prior to '97, still to this day, we struggle so much with football in this country. It is one of, I would say, it's the 4th to 5th loved sport within our country, behind AFL, NRL, cricket, even union, I would have to say. Now, football was put on the map even more so because of what Venables did or, Eltel did for our country in that '97. Going to a Confederations Cup to face Brazil, we were like, I was only 9 at the time, but I remember sitting there going, oh my goodness, like it was incredible. And he just helped the Socceroos that they're known now as get back on the map. And he had, Robbie Slaters and Vidmars and everything like that to help him back in the day, a young Viduka as well. And he just really helped both my club and country. So it's a big, big loss. He was an amazing, tactical, charismatic person. I love listening to him. I love watching YouTube videos of him coaching and talking. And he was a little, from one of favourite of mine in one of the bygone eras, I guess. And I'm really going to miss him. I think, he's 80 years old. I still feel like that's too young in this day and age. But great man for both the Middlesbrough and Australia, and someone that I absolutely adored.
Absolutely. I mean, something that we touched on just last week, funnily enough. We were talking about England games and sort of how we, certainly myself and Dave, it kind of fallen out of love with watching the national team. And 1996 and Euro 96 was kind of the last time I really felt we had anything resembling some national pride. And when we started beating some really good teams and looking likely. But of course, Eltel was only ever given a short contract for that. The FA, in their infinite wisdom, decided against extending his contract when Terry Venables was looking to do that. The FA obviously they were a little bit worried about some of his business dealings, apparently, just reading over at the logs of history there. And then of course they go and appoint somebody like Sam Allardyce, who's about as dodgy as they get. But anyway,
allegedly,
allegedly, yes. It's not allegedly if it's caught on camera. But one of the great quotes was from Gary Neville. I mean, as much as he does waffle on from sometimes, he did say, "Without doubt, the most technically gifted British coach we've ever produced. England certainly needed more like him, and it was a real sadness when he left at the end of Euro 96. I felt it never got as good again for England as it was under him." Everyone's saying about this technical ability he had. I mean, are we talking one of the most underrated England managers of all time, Steve?
100%. You just need to see the tributes. I know they come out time and time again when we see the passing of a football great, but Terry had such a wonderful spirit. Technically, probably one of the best England managers that we've seen in our time as football supporters. Certainly up there with Sir Bobby Robson. Sir Bobby Robson gets the advantage for me because he got to the semi-finals of the World Cup, and I'm not diminishing the Euros, but even in world football, the Euros are looked at as secondary to the World Cup. So Bobby just pips it for me as the better manager. But Eltel brought back the love for England again, and I mean, 1990 was special. Italia 1990, Gazza's tears. But if 1990 was Gazza's year for becoming an established player, 96 was his last hurrah in an England shirt, and I think we can all remember that wonderful goal against Scotland, chipping the ball over Colin Hendry, banging the ball into the onion bag, and then running off to do the dentist's chair. I mean, that was something that will stick with us forever as England fans. And as equally will the demolition, and it was a demolition of Holland, who at the time were a real major force in world football, and Eltel, engineered both of those particular results, and it was a wonderful occasion. Apart from that blasted song, Three Lions, and ultimately it became a party atmosphere, and we really did think we were going to win it on our own soil, and I'm gutted more for him than anything else that he didn't manage to achieve it. But I'll point back even further in his career to that wonderful Crystal Palace side that he built basically from nothing. He went to Palace. He was an assistant manager, an assistant coach. Sorry, and had learnt the craft, if you like, but then took over at Palace, who had no money at all and had to rely on the kids coming through, and he just made the team his own, and I think that was the very early signs of what what a good manager he was going to be, you know, and that promotion team is, you know, you go down to Crystal Palace and ask them, you know, anyone of a certain vintage will tell you how good a team that was. And in recent years there was a documentary made about it, which you probably would still be able to catch on Sky, I think, and it's well worth an hour and a half of anybody's time, just showing you the players that benefited from that. They went on to have great careers, and of course Terry Venables benefited himself as well by going on to bigger and better things, you know, ultimately the piece de resistance, become an England manager. But let's not forget as well, you know, how brilliantly he did on foreign soil, and of course, you know, the journey across to Barcelona, going to a foreign land is sometimes the most difficult thing to do in football, whether you're a player or whether you're a manager. But that was where he probably put the cherry on the top of his career, going to Barcelona, helping them win the league for the first time in years, and establishing them as a real force, and probably the person who you know, set the ball rolling for the Barcelona that we then saw go on to dominate for a couple of decades. But just he's, you know, the way that he had his team set up, the tactics that he came up with were fantastic. His manner, we talk about managers like Arteta losing the cool on the sidelines. You know, you never saw Terry Venables do that. You know, he had a proper manner about him. If things needed to be said, then, you know, he'd probably say them in the dressing room. I'm sure he could lose his temper like the next man. But, you know, emotional times, the photograph that's probably doing the rounds the most on social media is him consoling Gareth Southgate after that penalty. And, you know, you can see the emotion in his eyes as he tries to absorb the pain that Southgate's emitting from missing it, you know, knowing that all he's got to look forward to in the next couple of months is being asked to do a pizza advert. He's basically, you know, he's standing there looking gutted, obviously, for himself, but, you know, just trying to help the player through. And so many great tributes, you know, some wonderful tributes from from players and managers alike, and he will be missed. And he was a good chanter as well, lads. He liked to get up and sing. Some great footage of him getting up and belting out a few of his classics. When he walked away from football, he was one of these people who invested his money wisely. He had a wonderful hotel which is still in operation today, which he took a lot of time. He spent a lot of time there. And in recent years, you know, he was more of a recluse, preferring to spend time with his family, etc. But Alan Shearer managed to get out there. It was a documentary I helped Alan Shearer with, which was a look back on that Euro 96 squad. And there was a couple of people who he needed to get on board with the documentary, including Gaza. But Alan had kept in touch with Terry Venables and went out to visit him at his hotel, and it was it's fascinating. It was great to see, and he had lots of memories, lots of respect for the players, and it was mutual. I think my favourite photograph is the one that David Beckham put out yesterday. And I don't know whether you guys had seen it, but he'd of course met Terry in Barcelona as a child, and also whilst he was training at Tottenham at the age of 9, and he's put this wonderful photograph out on his Instagram of him aged 9 with his TSB Bank Skills Final t-shirt on, standing next to Eltel. And who would have thought years later he would have ended up getting to know him and playing for him. But sad day for football. In the words of many of us, when you hear of the news of this, he had a good innings, 80 years of age. He's lived a life, and he leaves a hell of a reputation, and he leaves a hell of a lot of good memories behind him, and hope he rests in peace. Absolutely,
really well said. I mean, the thing that always strikes me about Venables and why he was so much better than a lot, if not every manager that followed him, was his relationship with the players. And I remember before Euro 96, the press were, there was a lot of trouble. The whole thing with the dentist chair was because the England players were caught on a night out before the tournament. They were all, lashed up to the nines as they used to be back in them days. And Venables, instead of sort of condemning the players, he brought them together, and he actually attacked the press. And called the English press traitors for printing the pictures and printing the story as well, which was unique. You probably wouldn't last 5 minutes in a job if you did that now, but that was the standard of the man, and he's like you've both said, lads. I think he'll be massively missed. So R.I.P. Tell. We might have a little song from him later on, because he did record some absolute belters, Steve. You're right. What a voice. Bit of a crooner, wasn't he?
Got one lined up.
Proper crooner.
Yep.
We've got one lined up, don't worry.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, we'll crash on for now. We'll hear from Tell later on, no doubt. But now, obviously, there's a different kind of music you need to find, Dave.
No. What, elbow?
He just sniffed down the microphone at it in disgust.
All I heard was more.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Do you know what? I genuinely thought you were switching subject onto the championship performances. That's why.
No, we'll do the first clue of what the fact, and then we'll get on to the post-mortem.
All right then, and is it the usual children singing, or is it the piano, mate?
No, it's the piano we want. No children singing, thank you. Good morning.
Oh, here we go.
So we have 4 clues for you. This is what the fact. I'm going to give you 4 clues. You have to guess what the fact is.
Mario Balotelli.
Yes, it's called What the Fact. It's not Mario Balotelli. It will never be Mario Balotelli.
Taking my answers.
I bet it will.
Or
One
will
week
it?
you'll pick one week just to throw us a curveball.
Oh, absolutely. So, clue number 1. This one-off feat happened over 10 days in 2013. This one-off feat happened over 10 days in 2013.
Dave went to the bar.
Interesting.
Oh,
It's never happened, Steve. It's never happened.
That's below the belt.
That's where your wallet is.
Very, very, very much below the belt. Okay, this one-off feat.
There.
This one-off feat
Happened
over 10
over
days.
10 days in 2013.
In 2013.
And it's football related.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, I love those strings.
Sunderland remained unbeaten.
All right, mate.
Didn't like that, did he?
Oh.
Yeah.
Got feelings as well, you know. Look, the weekend was bad enough. We don't need you lot rubbing it in. I told you you're gonna end the weekend in the bottom half, and you just managed to escape it.
I've got a question. I've got a question for both you and Rai. Do either of you feel this weekend has revealed enough to suggest you might not make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yes. Defensive, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I'm feeling the same as well for the Borough.
We are going to start with Steve, though, because I think after that, I can only call it a demolition.
I predicted Chelsea to win that. And that should have been 6-1. I mean, Trippier hit the bar. Was it Joe Linton? I think that missed it. He should have buried his. He just missed with that flying header. So it should have been 6-1. I don't know whether it was Chelsea were that bad. I mean, but Newcastle were just on another form. No, they obviously got those boys back as well, Steve.
This is the narrative. This is the narrative that the media. This is the narrative that the media come out with. If Newcastle win resoundingly, then the other teams had a bad day. There's never any credit in the national media for Newcastle United. They don't like to do it. And look at the benches, first of all, on Saturday. Newcastle United's bench, an accumulative total of £15 million on the bench in players. Chelsea's bench, £230 million worth of talent. Newcastle had 3 goalkeepers. Yeah. This is how bad the situation is. We had 3 goalkeepers as our subs. I mean, honestly, our squad is so threadbare. The big shock as we trudged up to St James's Park the other day was that Willock was injured. Nobody knew about it. There was rumours going round that Anthony Gordon wasn't going to make it. And then we get there and it's Willock who was out. Not even on the bench. So straight away another injury. So doom and gloom.
But Steve,
despite the fact we managed to get a couple of players
despite
back.
the doom and gloom, I had prepared something for you for this conversation this morning.
Okay, go on. Happy days. Hey! Happy days all round.
As much as it hurts me to play it.
You know what?
After match interview.
But the whole thing around Newcastle at the moment is we're playing with kids now who have just made their debuts. I mean, take a bow at Lewis Miley first of all, who basically sat in the centre of midfield.
Was that a shot or a pass?
It was a definite pass. You could see,
It was a fantastic
and
pass.
I love the way that the senior
Incredible.
players looked after him on Saturday.
Yeah.
He is getting so much encouragement, and he's starting to shine in that team. And 17 years of age, played in the Champions League now played a few Premier League games. The kid is starting to revel in his opportunities, starting to grab his opportunity, and this is hopefully the first of many that we see come through from the academy, because that's what Dan Ashworth was brought in to do. That's what he did at Brighton. It's why we see this conveyor belt of kids coming through at Brighton. But then you look at the fact that Alex Murphy came on. He came on, obviously didn't have a great deal of time on the pitch, but what he did do was, it was accomplished. He put himself around. He lost the ball at one occasion, then he won it back. The crowd cheered him, and you could see he was buzzing off it. Young Diallo came on again, only a few minutes on the pitch, and Ndweni, who came on as well, a few minutes on the pitch, had a smile as wide as the Tyne when he came on. Because he was the player that Spurs rejected. He's come to Newcastle, now he's making his Premier League debut. So, for me, to see those youngsters come on the pitch was absolutely fantastic. And it's, the first half Newcastle played well. The second half Newcastle were unplayable. And that's the simple fact of the matter. Chelsea came to Newcastle after two back-to-back games where they'd scored 4 goals in each game. Thought it was going to be a rollover for them with the team that Newcastle put out, and they completely underestimated what Newcastle United were going to do to them. And the biggest disappointment for me on Saturday was the tweet that was put out by Mehrdad, and I went out on social media. I try not to get involved in these discussions these days on Twitter, but I went out and said that I agreed with what he said in principle. I don't agree with when he said it.
What did he say?
He was trying to. He basically put a photograph up of the team, and rather than completely misquote him, as I talk, I will bring it up on Twitter, and I will read you his exact tweet, so you lads can have a debate on this, because this has caused an absolute storm amongst Newcastle fans. He put a photograph of the team up and said, "What a team! NUFC, we need to give these guys more support in the stadium. We need to be louder. We need to be the 12th man." Now that was put out straight after the game, and I'm not being funny, but from my point of view, the atmosphere was no better and no worse than it has been all season and since all-seater stadiums came in. Jamie Rubin then was the first one onto it, saying, "What a team, and yes, we need to match the intensity of the players with our support." So this now has caused probably one of the biggest splits and divides on social media amongst Newcastle fans that I've seen for many a year. In the past it was those who felt like Ashley was actually doing a good job, those who wanted him out, like myself, and this has now caused an us and them kind of scenario. Who's a real supporter and who isn't? Lots of people having a pop at tourists coming to St James's Park. One post in particular on Newcastle United Supporters Club page yesterday was from a guy who'd walked up to the ground. I've got to be honest, when I walk to the ground, if I'm not walking along with somebody, I just keep myself to myself and get to the ground. This guy was speaking to lots of people. He claimed to have spoken to 15 people. Some asking him where the ground was. Some people who said that they'd won the tickets in a raffle. Other people who were Americans who said they were looking forward to the game and sampling the atmosphere. But 2 of them were Spurs fans, and two of them have basically Newcastle fans from America coming to their first game. So the point he was trying to make was, we've got day trippers coming to the ground, and people were saying it shouldn't be allowed. Well, look, wake up and smell the coffee. This is what happens when you have a takeover and people want to come. You will end up with new fans coming to the club. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but it's just caused an absolute storm on social media.
But that social media
I just think
post,
it was ill-timed. It was ill-timed after a 4-1 win. After a 4-1 win where the fans got behind the team as they always do.
He's just slated them
to come out and have a pop at the supporters, and for me, I think he hasn't read the room properly, and I've said that, and I'm waiting to see whether he responds to this. Comes off the back of a meeting at St James's Park, We Are United, where they invited fans in for a chat, which didn't go down well either, because the questions were all vetted. They didn't allow. There was a lot of people didn't get the correct login details, so people abroad didn't get a chance to get in. And then I think what's happening is as well, And again, this is, this is what winds people up. But there seems to be certain supporters groups in favour and others not. And I'm just so glad I'm not involved in the politics of it anymore. I can comment about it because I do the radio show and I do my podcast, but I'm just so glad that I walked away from all of this politics stuff, because this is ultimately what creates the biggest storm at Newcastle. We fight amongst ourselves for no good reason, and it doesn't help when someone comes out who's in a high position at the club and then starts having a pop at the fans for lack of support. And no matter how
well, that's how it came across. I mean, I hadn't seen. I hadn't seen the tweet, so I'm a perfect sounding board for you to have read it out verbatim and me to.
What would you have
absorb.
thought if Steve Gibson had come out and said that, and you'd sang your heart out for the lads at the stadium for Boro, and you'd won 4-1? How would you feel if Steve Gibson came out and tweeted that?
I mean, the first part of that is the message just came across when you read it out as the fans weren't supporting the team. That's exactly. That's 100%. That's how it came across when you read it out verbatim. Secondly, if Gibbo wouldn't be daft enough to do that, but if Gibbo did do that, I'd be very disappointed. Unless there was a good reason, unless I was there at the game and I could see there wasn't a lot of support, and even I was critical of the lack of support, then I'd say good on him. But if the support was there and he'd come out and said that, I'd be disappointed. I really would. I'd be angry,
lads.
Yeah, it's a little bit Delia Smith, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me, it's a bit cringy when a chairman or owner or anybody on the board comes out with something like that. Look, the fans, and it doesn't matter which club you support, the fans pay their hard-earned money, and it's not cheap to go to football games, especially if you're taking family, kids, all that sort of thing. The cost of going to a match is not cheap at all. So the fans can do whatever the hell they like in the stadium, law abiding, of course. It's not the ownership's place to tell supporters how to support their team. And let's face it, the supporters are going to be there long after any ownership has been gone as well. I think it's massively ill-timed and kind of, given the context of what the team had just done, which has beat one of the top sides in the country 4-1. Yeah, it's ridiculous what he's come out with. It's embarrassing. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm reveling in the joy of the wheels potentially coming off that relationship.
Of course.
But with a sensible head-on, ridiculous statement for him to come out with.
I don't get why as well. We've seen him obviously come in and say, he's obviously the Newcastle co-owner, so he said it right. But the thing that's even more bizarre is then Jamie Rubin backing it up, who's also the co-owner. So you've got two owners now essentially saying your fans aren't strong enough, that you need to match the intensity of what the players are doing. Now, whether it's a bit of a stab to the Trippier, sort of clash towards the end of, before the international break, maybe they've jumped on that and it's just ill-timed. It's not needed. And then when your team's doing so successful, I mean, as I said, you went into a Chelsea game. Now, Chelsea have spent billions and billions of dollars. They are arguably one of the, into some financial hardship. They are buying, their success, and Newcastle have just gone and trumped them 4-1. Now, that doesn't happen every day of the week. Chelsea have, dominated the game, for a long time. Newcastle have just come off a very, very good result with not much of their squad available. Lewis Miley, coming in as a youngster, there's so much more that me as a co-owner I would think could be focused on, rather than what the fans and how loud they are in that stadium. It just doesn't make any sense to me that that you would argue with that. I don't think as an owner that it's your issue of how loud or how passionate the fans are. The fans are going to be passionate and loud as they want. Maybe they've had a bad day. We saw it, classic example in that Norwich City video of the fan coming to the game. He's had a tough day at work, whatever it may be, and he sits there and he just wants to have a beer with his mate and whatever it is. You don't need to, people don't need to go to the football and be as loud as they want. They can go out just for a day out. They can go out just to get away from whatever's going on in their life. They can go and just cheer on and do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's rules and stipulations for that, but some lads just want to go have a beer with their mates and chat. They don't necessarily want to scream. Yep. Yes, it's great to see their club winning, and I'm sure they were watching that. You know what I mean? But they don't necessarily need to be. You're asking them to be something possibly that they're not, and you're asking, okay, well, why were you sitting down? It's like going to a rock concert. You know what I mean? And going, why weren't you in the mosh pit? You know what I mean? I don't want to be. It's it's just silly. And to have two owners to come and attack fans on that behalf, and there was just so much else going on in Newcastle. I mean, you got Champions League football, you got PSG. You know what I mean? let's have, if we're gonna have that, I would have, as a co-owner, I would have laughed at what Poch had to say after the game. Poch used the word "very" 6 times when he was saying he was angry. He said "very angry" 6 times. It was incredible. So I just think again, I agree with the lads so much. Ill-timed, ill-worded, other stuff happening is just, I think it was gross.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a clarification coming out today. I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say was, I think you'll see something like that come out.
He needs to.
Really? I thought they should have done that yesterday. This was on
I don't
Saturday,
think it will.
So I don't think you will. No, I don't think you will. I don't think.
No, I don't think it will.
I think he'll try and ride it out.
I don't think he thinks he's done anything wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, over 2 million people viewed the thing, and it caused such a kick-off. And gradually, what's happening as well, you're just seeing fans having a pop at each other. You're seeing certain fans. See, this is what I said to you at the start of the season, lads. Ticketing is such an issue within our fan base. I get wrong on my podcast for starting to talk about ticketing because it can dominate half an hour's worth of conversation. But it's
like VAR.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is. Those are the two. You do a full 1 hour show talking about those two topics. But it's becoming an absolute issue. It's becoming an absolute issue at Newcastle. And this is the thing. Peter Silverstone's come in and he's doing exactly what he does and what he did at Arsenal. His job as commercial officer is to bring in commercial revenue. So he has changed certain lounges, certain areas in the ground, and I saw it on a Twitter account called The Padded Seat. This is a guy who goes around the various stadiums and goes and sits and tries the corporate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, whether he actually gets that for free or whether he pays for it, I'm not sure. However, he's got a big following, and he went and did the rooftops at Newcastle at the Chelsea game at the weekend. £650 for a seat. Got to be honest, I wouldn't pay that. Even if it was the biggest game in my club's history, £650 to go and watch 90 minutes of football. I'm sorry, I've got better things to spend my money on. But I've got to be perfectly honest. That whole experience looks great. The food wouldn't fill my fingernail, my little finger. For what you get for £650. The fact that you get a badge and a programme, I'm not being funny, and the view's terrible because you're up in level 7. But it looked great, and I mean the guy gave it a 10 out of 10 more or less. He said the service was good, the entertainment was good. You had Andy Griffin, the ex-player, giving a talk in. There was a DJ on. All of it got a massive pat on the back, and I'll give Peter Silverstone, who apparently listens to shows like this, to gauge opinion. Well, yeah, I'll give him a massive pat on the back because he's doing exactly what he was told to do. However, fans, the working class fan was driven out of the game back in the 90s and in the early noughties with Paul Seater Stadium. So really, it's middle class fans you're talking to now. Beware, because your seats could be next. And some of the areas in the ground which you would classify as slightly expensive 10 years ago are going to be more and more expensive because that's the price of success. They want this business, and that's what a football club is. I hate to tell everyone, they want this business to generate its own money. They don't want PIF to have to keep bailing it out and put money in. That's not why PIF bought it. They bought it for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is so it becomes self-sufficient. And it comes to the football, you're bringing in youngsters, you want to develop your own youngsters so you don't have to go out and spend ridiculous money. And also, you want your commercial revenue to go through the roof so that you can bypass financial fair play. You can play the game properly and compete at the very highest level. So it's the price of success, unfortunately. But ticketing and stuff like that, where you're seeing tickets going onto these tout sites, we've spoken about it before, that's causing division amongst the crowd. That's why these day trippers are coming, people are saying. All of this, though, could be sorted out and nullified by the club if they came out that they're communicating with us, but they're not being transparent about certain issues. And I think there's a few things that need to be addressed. But we could go on and on and on about it. What I'll say is that the 4-1 win at the weekend was tarnished really by that tweet, and I just think that it was ill-timed, to say the least, and I'm glad you guys agree with us.
I'm sure we'll talk more about the game itself after 8, after the news, because we do tend to focus on that then. But what you've just been talking about there, Steve, it brought immediately into focus something I was reading last week. Now, we might have discussed it on this show, and correct me if we have, but it's this rumour stroke suggestion going round that the European Super League could come back. And it could take your real big spenders out of the Premier League. It could take Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal. Newcastle was mentioned in there now, out of the Premier League. So the Premier League becomes the top league in England, minus those European giants. How would you feel about that if Newcastle were dragged out of the Premier League and then week in, week out, it was Juventus, Barcelona, etc. that you were playing?
I'd probably do what Why Don't You suggested. Go off and do something less boring instead. I wouldn't have any interest in it. I genuinely wouldn't have any interest in it. And that's hard to say. I'd probably go and watch non-league. Because really it couldn't get any further away from the game that I fell in love with as a kid. I've got to be honest, I didn't embrace the Premier League. I dug out a few old fanzines a few weeks ago from back in the very early 90s when I was doing the editorial, and I despised the idea of a Premier League. I really did. I didn't want change, but I've embraced it. I've enjoyed it when we've been in it, and I did predict that the bubble would burst, and I was wrong. I thought the bubble would burst eventually. I thought that there's no way in the world we can continue to pay these wages, and no way that we'll have players going for £100 million.
I'm with you on that. I thought exactly the same.
How wrong was I? Yeah. And here we are still, where clubs are allowed to rack up millions and billions pounds worth of debt, go into bankruptcy, yet still survive at the very top of the table. Yeah. I just don't understand it. I don't understand in this day and age where we've got millions of people homeless, how a football player can take £250,000 a week home and bank it. And that's not the football player's fault. I just don't understand it. It's ridiculous. There's no other word for it. And as a football fan, people would maybe find that strange, me saying that, but I just find it absolutely bizarre.
I'll ask the same question.
That's where we're living.
I'll ask the same question to Ted and Rai, because obviously, you guys are fans, and so am I. I'm trying to be a bit neutral in this little mini discussion. You're fans of clubs desperate to get in, to climb that one step and get back into the Premier League. What would you guys feel like if it was a Premier League that didn't have Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Newcastle, Tottenham?
It's not the Premier League.
It'd feel worthless, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's not the Premier League. Exactly. The aim is in a 4-tier system of England. You've got the best teams at the top, and you've got the not so good teams at the bottom. I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but that's how it works. You've got everyone that wants to. If you win and have success, and you're a good football club, you'll end up playing in the Premier League. If you run your club poorly, you don't have good players, you don't fight for the badge, whatever it is, you'll probably end up in League Two. It's just how it works, all right? And it's a system that has been running for years and years, long before we were even here. Now, to say that you're going to now take the top Premier League teams out of that top league, then what are we striving for? What are we besting ourselves against? And then do we just bounce those? Say we take 5-6 teams out of the Premier League. Do we just bounce 5 or 6 teams up from the Championship?
That's what was
League
suggested.
1 up as well, and League 2. It's crazy. And then who gets that? Do you know what I mean? Is it just the teams that are performing at the moment? Is it the teams that can bring the big revenue? Because the Premier League has then just lost. Think of the TV deals. Now, the TV deals would go a skyrocket down because the TV deals are there. I know it's probably harsh, but the TV deal that Sky or whatever want to pay, BBC and everyone that comes in and pays the big money, they want it so that they can see the Man Uniteds, the Chelseas, the Tottenhams, the Liverpools, the ones that are worldwide, international, loved clubs that they are going to pay big dollars to watch and sign up for and subscribe for. You know what I mean? That is millions and millions of dollars in their pocket. And if you take those clubs out of there, well, then the TV and the radios and all that aren't going to put in as much money, are they? Because they don't want to, they don't want to see the game on a Thursday or Friday night of Sheffield United versus Burnley. I'm trying not to be disrespectful, but that's the TV rights love showing all those games, but it's complemented by, and you can see it when you have you have the Liverpool Man City game, and how many people viewed into that, and that's what people want to see. And you don't want, and if you take that out, then the league crumbles, and not only does the league itself crumble for the teams, but the financial success of the Premier League and the backing of it goes away with it, because they will go to the Super League as well. So you're not only taking away the clubs, you're taking away financial backing, you're taking away TV rights, you're taking away all this little stuff that people do. You're taking away the podcasts and everything like that, because people will then go to the Super League. They won't focus on the Premier League anymore. Because some people, will stay with the club, some people won't, and you'll have this big division, and it'll be ludicrous. It'd be ludicrous.
I agree with everything Rise just said, apart from the fact that I started laughing and had to pull away from the mic as he put Spurs in the Super League. Did you ever go to a house party in the 90s and there was a weird kid standing in the corner and everyone's looking going, who invited him?
I thought I saw you, Ted.
There's no way Daniel...
I was good as gold.
No way Daniel Levy doesn't allow Tottenham in that one. But I get it, yeah. I get it.
Speaking of weird kids in the corner, right?
That's me.
Go on.
Yeah, can you imagine that though? I mean, Sunderland and Middlesbrough, we go up into a Premier League without saying Newcastle, and what gets you into this Super League?
It just becomes
What's the ruling behind it?
the
Is it
Super Championship.
Is there not one part of you that would say good riddance to them, because they've got multi-billionaire owners pumping enough resource into the clubs that we could never compete with them, and you'd be glad to see the back of them? Is there no part of it?
You know what? There is a part of me that says, well, that's the part of me that says that you would probably see a more even league. You would probably see the likes of Leicester's and all that winning the Premier League, but it'd be air quotes that you didn't really win it because it's not the Premier League. But you would probably, if you take those financial big boys out of it that continue to buy the best players in the world and continue to have the best success because they've bought the best players in the world, then you're probably going to see a much more even league. And maybe there is a bit of part of me that kind of wants that. But right now, I still think a Sheffield United can rock up to an Arsenal and beat them on their day if they have an off day. I still think you can see Newcastle, who have just obviously got lots of money, rock up and beat Chelsea, who years ago, with under the likes of with Didier Drogba and Jose Mourinho, wouldn't have gone close to a Chelsea. And you see this this sort of ups and downs of it sort of thing. So I still dream of being in the Premier League as a borough, going down to Liverpool, playing at Anfield and knocking them off. You know what I mean? One of the best days we had, Dave, last season was in that FA Cup where Joshy Coburn, we knocked out Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just, and it's one of those things that can still happen to this day and age. And you take them out of that, you lose that. You know what I mean? But you probably have a more even league because we're all as bad as each other.
I mean, one of these teams could end up going down anyway with, if they're found guilty of these financial fair play breaches. You could see Man City and Chelsea hypothetically taken out of the Premier League.
I wonder how many of their fans would turn up then, Steve, because honestly...
Yeah, exactly. That's the catalyst.
You can barely drag them into the point, yeah.
That's the catalyst that could maybe launch this Super League, because Man City could take the hoof, put the ball under their arm, and then say, "All right, we're off." Then what I mean. That's potentially what could happen. I mean, again, because it's so complex and it's unproven at the minute, we don't know what the situation is, and we don't know what kind of sanctions FIFA would put in place. We don't know what kind of sanctions.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Yeah, good point.
It could be. It could be world sanctions, couldn't it? And then the Super League's completely out the window because you've lost two of the biggest teams who probably would have gone. So go on, Dave. You were going to ask Ted something.
And then you have a super league supercomputer.
That's it.
Yeah,
a Chinese machine. I was going to ask Ted.
Super League.
Steve's already said he wouldn't watch Newcastle if that happened. Would you watch any of the games, Ted?
For me, nah. It's a
European Super League.
Not a chance. Nah, that doesn't interest me. We've got the Champions League. Why do we need a Super League as well? It's the self-same thing without the sort of drama of the knockout phases and things like that. It's just one long group stage, and for me, that's a bit of a dirge. I don't want those clubs to leave a Super League. the idea is that Middlesbrough, Sunderland were both targeting to get back into the Premier League. And like Rice said, you want to go and take these places on. You want to go and have away days at Old Trafford, at Anfield, and actually introduce some atmosphere. Because one of the great fallacies in life that Anfield has got a great atmosphere. It does for about the first 5 minutes, then it absolutely dies like a library. But there you go. It's just in my opinion. But I want those days, a couple of years back now, but when we had Martin O'Neill in charge and Man City came to the Stadium of Light, they were absolutely battering us, but for some reason they couldn't find the back of the net. About the 93rd minute, and Ji comes up, a Korean player who we've never seen since he disappeared into German football, pops up in the 93rd minute and scores the winner against Man City. You want those moments. You want those moments where you think,
agreed.
We're going to get absolutely mullered by these big teams, and then you just create that little shock and you go and pull off something like that.
Yeah.
That's what the Premier League's built for. It is the most exciting league in the world. That's why Boro and Sunderland are so desperate.
I've got a very similar recent memory, which was the year that the Boro were relegated. The only year they bounced up with Karanka and then went back down. My highlight of that season was being behind the goal when Martin Daroon scored the equaliser for the Boro to draw 1-1 at City. It was a tremendous occasion.
Exactly.
I mean, the Boro fans around me went absolutely ballistic. Yeah, so that's my abiding memory of that one season. And it was exactly that. It was taking something off City.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's Chouamani goal against Sunderland. Woohoo!
Can't remember that. Moving on. Beans is so gobby, right? Let's talk about Boro.
Let's give a reminder. Let's give a reminder about what the facts. We need a reminder about what the facts.
We'll go another clue. Yes. Right. Let's have the reminder and clue number 2 then. Clue number 1 was this one-off feat happened over 10 days in 2013. Clue number 2. To make it happen, Rafa was the gaffer and Fernando Torres scored. To make it happen, Rafa was the gaffer and Fernando Torres scored.
Any shouts?
I'm going to give the WhatsApp number out, Dave.
Any shouts? 0330 or 043 2002 if you want to WhatsApp your suggestion. If you think you've got it, Daniil, where are you when we need you? 0330 or 043 2002. That's the WhatsApp number to WhatsApp your suggestions through. Fellas?
There we go.
Any closer? Any closer?
I got nothing. No, I got nothing. No.
Even the Rafa thing didn't help me. Like I'm too busy lighting me. I'm too busy lighting the candles and climbing into the bath with this music.
What a horrible thought.
Whatever tickles your fancy.
Every time it comes on, I feel like I'm walking like. I feel like I'm walking like what you call them, Shaggy and Scooby Doo, like when they're in a trance towards walking towards like the villain because he's playing some creepy music.
And it's actually called Daz Atmospheric Piano Mystery. There you go. That's what it's called.
I didn't realise he could play the piano that
he's
well.
Even put he tinkles his ivories quite a lot. He's put his name on it. He's claimed it. But we're abusing it and we don't care.
He used to. Wow. You know that Daz used to be a triangle player in a reggae band. He used to stand at the back and ting.
Hey! Dad jokes, we love them. And his programme's absolutely full of them.
I've got to be careful now because I get accused of plagiarising his gags, don't I?
Well, you do, yeah.
You do.
He'll be here
You're
soon.
stealing each other jokes.
He'll be here soon.
You've got to do something when you're tied to a radiator, though, Ted, to be fair.
Wait, this is it. It helps the time. To be honest, mate, like I said before the show, it stops us from eating and my cholesterol going up any further, doesn't it? So, being held captive does have its plus points, I suppose. But there you go. Anyway, I'm going to have some news, or what?
Yeah, well, since we completely obliterated the sports bulletin at 5:30, I think we better keep the news on time.
Did.
Yeah, and how much more time can you get? Can you be spot on time, which it's 8 o'clock right across the North East right now?
Hey, what you doing after breakfast Monday to Friday? Why not join me, Daz, across the North East for our mid-morning show, full of expert analysis,
This Sunderland squad is the youngest squad that the Championship has ever seen.
top banter,
I've been looking at trains, many Middlesbrough fans. It's an hour and 3 minutes. That's all it takes to get yourselves up here and see some real football.
and the quiz that is sweeping the nation. Name that theme. How many will you get? He's always on the scene,
Fireman Sam.
and his engine's bright and clean. Join me, Daz, right here every weekday morning from 9 till 11.
I love this banter because this is what the Red, the Cat and the Toon's all about.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the northeast, the red, the toon, and the cat.
We've got to have a little bit of Eltel. Absolute
here
little
he is.
belt of this.
This is
In his prime.
If I Could
Quality.
Dream.
Great man.
Terry Venables. He had a bit of a crooning voice, like he was a good singer.
Oh, awesome.
He did.
Here we go.
There must be lights burning brighter somewhere.
What a set of lungs on him. What a set
Wow.
of lungs on him, Terry
People
Venables.
should buy that.
Wow.
People should buy that and
Actually
get
incredible.
it to number one for Christmas.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we're
imagine
number
that.
one.
Imagine
We'll
that.
we'll have it as number 2. We're number 1.
Are you still doing it? Like, I mean, there seems to have gone quiet on our Christmas song. What's going on?
It had done.
yeah.
Now,
I recorded it.
Have you done yours, have you?
I did mine as well.
Yeah, I've done mine. Yep.
All
Yep.
right, I need to finish mine tonight. Mrs. Ted's on night shift tonight, so I'll get into the spare room and I'll sing me little lungs out tonight. Then I'll do that.
I've just about
Yeah,
got
I
rid of the
punched
cough
it
and the
out.
snot, so I should be able to do mine this week as well.
Lovely.
Absolutely love it.
Anyway,
Well,
did
Ted, we were
have an
talking
update?
frustratingly off air.
Sorry,
Well,
what?
Yes.
I mean, we're both
Did we?
cut frustrated men this morning.
Yeah. To be honest, like if you don't mind, I'll get my little bit out the way with right. Because I haven't got a lot to say on Sunderland's performance, if I'm honest with you. But how's about this for a statistic, right? In our last 3 away games, we've had 62 shots and 0 goals. However, only about 9 or 10 of them have actually been on target in 3 games. So for me, it's no longer a case of give these young lads time. Yes, keep them in the squad, let them develop. That's important. They are showing promise, but the owner's now got to splash the cash on a striker as well, because that kind of statistic is the difference between being stuck in the Championship for another season or giving yourselves a chance through the playoffs. Now that defeat, we've gone from being in the playoffs at the start of the day, we've now drifted out to 9th, I believe now. And Ryan, obviously Burrow's seen a similar sort of thing. One defeat can absolutely, demoralise you, I guess. But the whole, it was just a frustrating game to watch from start to finish, to be honest. Yes, we'll come on to the strikers part of things, but the defending from Sunderland was shocking. I highlighted Whittaker before the game. Now on Friday I said the danger man for them is going to be Whittaker. He can carry the ball as well as what Jack Clark can, and he's got a shot on him as well. Now the first thing that we saw from Plymouth was Whittaker pick the ball up, drift inside like what we do with our wingers, and all of the defence just backed off and backed off and backed off. It was just atrocious defending. Somebody needs to go out. If I can say that, I'm a novice, right? I'm not even a journalist, right? If I can pick up the fact that Whittaker is their danger man and he's got a shot on him, as a defender you go, well, I've got to close him down. Not back off and back off.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what they were trying to achieve by that. And then the second goal was just Luke O'Nien, as ever, being completely positionally inept. He is not a centre-back. Nice guy, yeah, great. If he's a nice guy, let him stay at home and play with his kids or be the mascot, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, he's done as a centre-back. He shouldn't be playing in that position at all. He's enthusiastic and all that, but then again, so's a boxer dog, but they're crap at football. It's got to change. So Mowbray's got to recognise whether he's captain or not, he's got to be dropped from centre-back now. Because he can't jump. He gives away, there was an altercation towards the end of the game where he's climbing all over the player. It could have been, in this environment with referees, it could have easily been a red card. And he's just, at this moment in time, Luke O'Nien is a liability for Sunderland. And he needs to be given a complete break from it. Jensen Sealed, absolutely perfect to come in. He's a big strapping lad. He looks fairly comfortable on the ball as well. We need a proper defender in a proper defender's position. Either that or Triantis as well. Triantis did himself no disgrace the other week as well. But O'Nien, nah, sorry mate. Just not good enough for Sunderland. Not good enough for the Championship level. He's a League One player at best now.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to have seen, and obviously looking from the outside in, I would have liked to have seen in that moment where you saw Pierre-Ekwa getting taken off at halftime. Because let's be honest, I was talking to you off air. In what I saw was Pierre-Ekwa getting into the right position. He's one of the biggest lads on that pitch, and he was getting into the box. Yep. And instead of turning and walking towards the goal, he would take the ball or he'd take the possession to the complete opposite side of where the goal was. He would be in the box and he'd run out to the right or he'd run out to the left. And obviously Mogga was just, had enough of him, subbed him at half time. For me, that's the perfect opportunity then to move Luke O'Nien into that Pierre-Ekwa role, which I think it was where he grew up playing Wickham, in that midfield, that defensive midfield. And then you've got Sealt to come in as the centre back. That for me, it was what I saw which should have happened. It didn't, but I completely agree that I think, if you, like Middlesbrough, want a chance of being in the playoffs and that, we need to fix our defence. And it starts for you guys with moving O'Nien into that Pierre-Ekwa role, giving Ekwa a little bit of a chance to come off the bench, whatever it is, and then playing Sealt or Triantis in that centre-back role, because you're absolutely right. It's not working.
Yeah, it's competition for places. That you're absolutely right in what you're saying. Now, the substitution that was made was Aushish came on in for Ekwa, who's a much more sort of a direct attacking midfielder. And to be honest, Aushish had an all right game. He was close to getting on the score sheet himself. He creates more. Going forward, he just looks a lot more potent. In terms of Mayenda, very, very heavy first touch on one chance that he had. He put it in the side netting when maybe he could have squared it. But at least he's shown some will and trying to get on the score sheet. But that's the worry now, is we've got to go out and we've got to go and buy. I'm going to put it in inverted commas, using me air fingers again here, right? That we need a proven goal scorer. Now, you could argue that we let one go in Ross Stewart, but to be honest, he's made a mashed potato and socks, and you just don't know when his next major injury is going to be. He could get out of bed and do his ACL. He's that femur, I guess, to use a very posh word. So we're going to have to spend some decent money on a striker in January. Otherwise, kiss any chance of being in the playoffs goodbye unless we do that. Sure, because the rest of the team, so go on then, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, should we have a listen to Mogga?
Oh yeah, please, yeah.
Well, we obviously fell a bit short. I think in a game with lots and lots of domination, lots of shots, lots of chances, we didn't stick the ball in the net, and we suffered because of their few chances, they bent a couple of really good strikes outside the box into the corners, and we ultimately came away with nothing in a game where we felt as if we should be coming here and winning, and I thought the performance was dominant enough, but just lacked the clinical aspects of what we need to do to put the ball in the net.
That's what Ted's just said.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. That's nailed it. It's the clinical side, but if you go away to places like that, at least keep a clean sheet. Yes, the problems with the strikers is well documented. We know we need to sign a striker. But don't give away soft goals when you should be going out to meet somebody like that Whittaker. It's a no-brainer. It's simple defending. I would have been absolutely... We've had Gaz on the show, as you know, who was my old Sunday League manager. If I hadn't gone out to meet that and actually try and block a shot, I would have been getting ratified after the game as we were trying to tuck into our carvery. It's just schoolboy defending. And you keep a clean sheet first, then yes, absolutely give ourselves a chance and be more clinical. I feel like Jack Clark even wasn't at the races in his play. Looked great going forward, wriggles through and all that sort of thing. But I don't know, these like sort of lazy passes that rolled in towards the penalty spot. It was behind players. There was only once it actually found anyone, and that was Job Bellingham. And to be honest, Job just looks tired. He's a young kid and he needs a rest as well. I think there's got to be some changes for Wednesday night. I would expect to see Job rested, Aushish come in. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see if Ekwa was dropped as well. It's thankfully, we've got an opportunity to turn it around very, very quickly. But yeah, come January, mate, I'm afraid Mr. Dreyfus is going to have to open the wallet and prove that he is a billionaire. Apart from that, it was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the TED Show.
Sorry, I feel like I just did a rye on you. No, it was, look, let's put it to bed, and Wednesday just has to be a lot better. And in terms of shooting on goal, take the risk. And it's all right. 62 shots in the last 3 away games, no goals. Seriously, it's not rocket science. I'm sure we can hit the target from instead of trying to walk it into the net, which is the big problem at the minute.
There you go. Should we do a few news headlines and then get on to Boro and Newcastle?
Do it.
Absolutely.
Doing it.
And what the fact?
Oh yeah. Should we just before we do the news headlines? Should we have a dabble just to see if Daniil's right?
Go on then. Let's have it.
So the two questions were: it's a one-off feat. It happened across 10 days. What, in 2013?
Yep.
Is that the first one?
Yep.
And the second point is, in order for it to happen,
Rafa was the gaffer.
And Fernando Torres scored.
Yes.
And Daniil in Gateshead says, the fact is, Chelsea won the Europa League.
He's not 100% correct.
Oh.
Okay.
That is a fact, but it's not the fact we're looking for, Daniil.
Oh, Daniil, think wider.
Can I have a guess?
Yeah.
Is it the fact that he was the 10th player Fernando Torres to score on his birthday?
No, but I do like that one.
Oh. Yeah, there you go.
Do you want another clue?
Go on then, throw us another clue, then we'll get into headlines.
Okay. What started in Munich ended in Amsterdam. That's what started in Munich ended in Amsterdam. And it's not a good stag do.
I'm out.
Oh, it would be a good stag do, that.
Right,
it's not Mario Balotelli.
I'm a Boro fan. We're talking European action here, so it's alien to me. apart from our wonderful 2-year stint before we get some slagging from the Sunderland contingency.
I've only ever read about it.
Yay! All right, there you go. So what started in Munich ended in Amsterdam is your third clue. Come on, Daniil.
Yes.
You're going to have to be a bit more precise with your answering than that. Okay.
He's along the right lines.
He's along the right lines. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then, no problem. Let's do a bit of this then.
Magpies and proud. Mags News.
Injury-stricken Newcastle United defied the odds again at the weekend as they hit Chelsea for 4 at St James's Park. Goals from Alexander Isak, Jamal Lascelles, Anthony Gordon and Joe Linton saw the Magpies climb up to 6th in the Premier League table. Koen Amirda Grusi called for more support in the stadium from fans in a bizarre post-match tweet. The tweet that reached 2 million people was greeted with a mixed reaction from Toon fans around the world. Fans travelling to France today for the PSG Champions League match on Tuesday night had travel plans thrown into chaos last night with the Eurostar strike announced. People are advised not to travel by Eurostar and fans are advised to contact their booking agent for a refund or to rearrange. Good luck with that. And finally, Newcastle United under-18s failed to progress in the Premier League Cup, losing 5-1 at Liverpool with Bryant grabbing the consolation goal. That's your Newcastle United headlines this Monday morning.
Smoggies and proud. Boro News.
Middlesbrough boss Michael Carrick is demanding his players find more consistency after the bad result against Bristol City. Middlesbrough had held the league leaders Leicester to a 1-0 win to then, albeit after an international break, find themselves losing 3-2. Result wasn't the only thing for Cern as well. Engel limped off with what looked like a bad knee injury after falling awkwardly late in the second half. But as I said, lucky for the Boro, the turnaround in the championship is always a quick one, and Boro will have a midweek game at home to Preston to try and shape a defence into something worthy of promotion. And last week's international break was also another opportunity for Nottingham Forest to send scouts to watch young Hayden Hackney. Hayden, who recently switched allegiance from Scotland to England, has been attracting more and more attention with his constant performance for both Boro and the England under-21s. Now, like earlier in the season, it seems Forest are keen to ramp up their interest going into the January transfer window. And just finally, tributes have flooded in from the North East following the news that retired footballer and former Middlesbrough head coach Terry Venables has passed away at the age of 80. The Dagenham player rose to the global stage in the 60s and 70s before his managing career began in 1976, which led him to be joint Middlesbrough head coach with Brian Robson for the 2000 and 2001 season. El Tel, as he was commonly referred to, will be greatly missed not only in the North East but across the nation for his charismatic and tactically innovative English football brain, which ended up resulting in leading his national team to the European Championship semi-finals in '96 after also winning trophies at club level with Barcelona and Tottenham, and also helping Australia grow as a footballing nation in a stint as their manager in 1997. Rest in peace, El Tel. You were one of the greats. That is your Boro headlines.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Speaking to the press right after Saturday's defeat at Plymouth, Tony Mowbray said his side need to be more ruthless in front of goal. He said, "We work with strikers every day. I think they had 2 shots on target and scored both of them. I was a bit disappointed with the first half that we didn't get the intensity that we should have. You have to put the ball in the net. It didn't happen for us. We hit the post a couple of times, didn't make the keeper work enough, but we got in lots of amazing positions in the box, just didn't find the space or the pass or the combination. I'm trying not to be harsh on them, but it is frustrating. The fans made a long trip to come here today, and we have to find a way to put the ball in the net. They are young players, but they are footballers. They have to be more ruthless. They have to understand that we are all being judged." There was a familiar face in the Plymouth lineup as former Sunderland Academy player Bally Mumba started for the hosts. The 22-year-old almost added a third goal for Plymouth in the second half, but was given a good reception from the Sunderland fans as he walked off. Mumba even went over to the away end to chat with some of the Black Cats supporters after the game. Mumba wasn't the only ex-Sunderland player in Plymouth's squad, as former Black Cats loanee Brendan Galloway came off the bench for the hosts in the 88th minute. The 27-year-old, who was on loan in Sunderland and during the dismal 2017-18 campaign, was making his first appearance of the season after returning from injury. And finally, despite the weekend's miserable defeat, the Black Cats will be able to rely on the unwavering support of the Stadium of Light faithful when they return to Wearside with a home game against Huddersfield Town on Wednesday night. It may not come as much of a surprise that Sunderland have the largest average attendance in the Championship this season. On average, according to the website Transfer Market, 42,344 have attended the Stadium of Light for home matches this season. Imagine what it would be like if we actually had a little bit of success. And that's your Monday morning headlines for Sunderland.
Ted, Rye and Steve, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Reds, the Cat and the Tune.
Do we go to Boro next?
Oh, you've got to, yeah.
Of course.
The pain. Well, Middlesbrough fans, we had a bit of a shock on the weekend, and I'm not going to harp on it too much. The boys have told me I talk too much, and I just don't feel like it today. I'm upset. I want to talk about how we can make a good wreath for your front door, and that'll be in the later. I will talk to you about why cinnamon works as a Christmas ornament. Anyway, the big issue from the weekend was our defence, and it's been asked questions once again. Now, we heard Ted just earlier ramping on about Sunderland and how bad they have been in conceding some soft goals. Now, they have conceded 19 goals, and Ted's ramping on about his defence, right? Middlesbrough have conceded 26 goals now, and we average 2.1 per away match. Now, just to put that in perspective for those that don't like stats, right? The next the next worst team to average over 2.2 goals in an away match is Sheffield Wednesday. Okay, so that's how bad our defence is going. Now, we backed it up the week before, right, into the win against Leicester. We kept a clean sheet. Everyone did their job. And oh my goodness, hang on a second, we're keeping clean sheets. But we keep leaking goals. And these goals, even though in these wins that we had, and we've had a good run, we keep seeing our defence fail. And on the weekend, it was more evident of that. Dale Fry had a reasonably one of the worst games I've seen. He didn't put his body on the line. Instead of when, and we got asked the question here, Borough fans, because when he got that kick to the head, if you remember that middle last season, he got kicked in the eye. Ever since then, and he wore that face mask, he does not want to put his body in the way of the ball and the player. He'll flick his leg up at it. And I'm so sick of seeing Dale Fry stick his foot up at it and not put his body in between the ball and the player, because if he does that, they don't score 2 of those goals on the weekend. Now, we also had it compacted with Engel coming off with what looks like a bad knee injury, who had just looking like he was finding some good form in that left back. But for me, the questions of us now push into January of us getting some defensive backups. We need a right back, because Vandenberg, albeit 19 and has got a bright future, is not our serious right back. Dale Fry needs a bit of a break for me, and Matt Clark needs to come in if he's fit and ready. He was Brighton's player of the season for 2 seasons in a running before he came to us. He hasn't played because of his back injury. Whether he's fit or not, we need Matt Clark out there. Paddy McNair did enough to stay on that pitch. I know we're running out of options if without him. And then obviously you're going to have Bangura now in that other left back role, because if Engel's out for however long, who knows? Our defense is the most scariest thing that I have seen come out of this weekend. I don't mind that we got back in the goals. We've got goals in us. We know that Sam Greenwood, Matt Crooks, all that, are going to look. Latte Lath didn't work as a starting striker either. You got to go back to that Josh Coburn. Now Middlesbrough fans that we've been calling for it, we can see that Latte Lath comes on better when the defence is tired, not from the start. He just gets overshadowed, outrun, and he just looked, he just went missing. Now, again, that was also a lot to us not feeding him correctly. I agree with that. And also, exactly what Ted said, we need players that are willing to get in front of these blimmin' worldies that these teams keep scoring against us. If a player throws himself in front of that shot, if he throws himself at the Bristol player, the West Brom bloke, Gardner Hickman, Dale Fry, if you have a look at the replay, just have a look at the replay, and please, don't slate me, and I know some of you will, but Dale Fry turns away from it. He doesn't turn into it. If he puts his body in the line, the ball hits Dale Fry's head. Yes, it's going to hurt Dale, but you stop a goal. And then, the defense is just scary, scary, scary for me. And that is going to be Middlesbrough's biggest issue going forward. If we want to be in the playoffs, if we want to be a promotion-worthy team, we need to fix our defense here and now. Seny Dieng is a great goalkeeper, right? We do not need him having to go against those worldies every single game. Right, we're seeing it time and time again, and then it's not a question of, oh my goodness, why are we the team that gets scored worldies against? It's why are our defenders not stopping the boys getting into positions that can shoot from that far out? It's 5 times out of 10, there's players that are good enough in the championship that are going to score those. All right, so we just need to put our bodies on the line. We have a quick turnaround. We forgive, we forget, we move on to Preston at home, where funny enough, our defensive record is a lot better than our away record. But if we want to be serious about promotion this season, whether it's a rebuild because we bought 10 players and we got all those other players out, we need to look at defensive signings in January. If we don't, we're in some trouble.
Yep.
That's it.
I'd agree with that.
I can't say anymore. It's just,
do you want to have a listen?
I can't.
To Carrick?
Yes, please.
Yeah, he spoke at length on Borough Live. So in respect,
he was as frustrated as I was, which is good to hear.
Yeah. So in respect of not ripping off all their content, if you want to watch it in full, get onto Borough Live. This is what he had to say at the end of the game.
Bitterly disappointed to lose the game, obviously, especially when we got ourselves largely in the first half. Thought we were in control a lot. Wasn't really a lot going on around our goal at all, and we controlled things. Crazy few minutes really where we kind of lost control, and couple of kind of situations, and then you find yourself 2-0 down at half time from nowhere. We faced something similar last year really here, and we spoke about that quickly at half time, and the boys responded, came back into the game. We was kind of looking at it thinking there's only one winner really. A lot of positive second half, and they didn't really get in our half, and then the one corner they get in around our box and score from it, and you say we deserve more from the game. We expect more from the game, and the way it went, we should have.
Yep. So obviously a disappointed Michael Carrick. And disappointed bunch of fans, isn't it? Because it's another long journey.
Yeah.
I mean, we did the long journey to Plymouth 3-3, another journey to Bristol and got beat 3-2.
Yeah. Yeah, even in that Exeter win,
I think it was like
we
a
still
13.5-hour journey.
Yeah, for Sunderland, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that was the longest way you can go in that weekend to see that, Sunderland rock up the way they did. But for the Boro especially, it's just the goals that we keep seeming to leak. We just need to. I don't think we've got enough focus up front with Sam Greenwood and the likes. And when Riley gets back and Marcus Force, we're going to be fine for goals. But we keep shooting ourselves in the foot by letting goals in. We can't keep having to come back from 2 to 3 goals down, right? Which we keep doing. And for Plymouth, for example, where we drew 3-3, Exeter we beat 3-2. We just need to stop the rot in the defence and we will be okay. If we do that, we have got the forward line that can take us to wherever we need to go. Trust. We just do not have the defensive capabilities at the moment. Lenihan now injured. Tommy Smith now out injured. Engel potentially now with done his knee. It is the injuries that are hurting us are those in the defensive line. My answer to it is the big bald eagle in Matty Clark. Get him on that pitch, get him playing some game time and see what he can do because he is our only option at the moment to stop the rot.
Yeah, definitely marathon, not a sprint, as I keep saying on this show about Sunderland and Middlesbrough's season. But, bad weekend for you guys. I've got to be honest, I did feel for you a little bit. It was, it looked as if Boro were going to pull off the great escape as well. Looked like looked as if they were going to come back into it. But,
I've got to agree with Michael Carrick. Once you pull a game back to 2-2, having been 2-0 down, you just think there's only going to be one winner. You're just going to go through and take the points at that point, at that stage. Yeah. But
complacency, that though, isn't it? It's complacency.
Yes.
It's the team switched off. The team switched off after they got back. They'd done the hard work. They needed to keep on going. It's what Eddie Howe's team do well. They don't give in, and that was that's the remit of how from top to bottom in the first team. But clearly through the 23s down to the 18s and beyond, you see now that even the youngsters who came on are running their hearts out. They're running themselves into the ground, and that kind of ethos, that kind of work rate, we'll call it Eddie Howe fitness, is what is putting Newcastle in good stead. Look at the month or so that Newcastle have had, and then take a look at the players that they've had out. And honestly, Eddie Howe struggles to win Premier League Manager of the Season, but he's doing it again this season. He is creating something out of nothing again. And with the exception of those games against Dortmund, if we go back to when this injury crisis came around the Dortmund game. So we lost against Dortmund 1-0. We then went away to Wolves, where everyone predicted Newcastle were going to come a cropper. We drew 2-2. We then played Manchester United with a back line including Kraft, who hadn't played, Dummett, who hadn't played, Lascelles, Dubravka. I mean, it was, people were saying, and Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento were playing as well, who hadn't had much game time. We win 3-0. We then take on Arsenal at home. We beat them 1-0. We go away to Dortmund, who did us again, the first team that's done us home and away for quite a while now. We lose at Bournemouth. We look jaded and tired, and then we run out 4-1 winners against Chelsea, and that with without your players like Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak, hasn't played a vast majority of those games. No Sven Botman, who's your stalwart in the back four. Elliot Anderson, who was tipped for greatness this season, out of the equation. Joe Linton missing for some of those games. Bruno serving a suspension amongst that game. Almiron missing. Willock missing. One of your top players banned, Tonali, and Harvey Barnes still on the missing list. I mean, ultimately, you've got a 1-11 that would start most games sitting on the bench, and yet Newcastle have managed to get results out of nothing, and that's the difference between Newcastle, Middlesbrough and Sunderland this year. It's that kind of work rate, and if you can get players working to that kind of ethos and to the level where anyone who comes in knows their job, knows what they're doing and knows how to play, it just bodes well for the future for Newcastle. Boro and Sunderland need to watch Newcastle take a leaf out of Eddie Howe's book and try and get their teams to do that. But Boro and Sunderland have both been hit with issues over the course of the last 12 months as well. Players going out, instability, if you like. Players that should have stayed have gone. Players who should have gone have stayed. Few injuries. money not being spent in the right positions and places. So it's we've been there and done it many times, Newcastle, but it's not over. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And this Christmas period for Sunderland and Middlesbrough could see things change dramatically again. So I wouldn't get too down. You put that result behind you, and like Ted said before, you're getting back on the horse quite quickly. You can put that result behind you with a decent performance midweek.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. I think the key word you said there, Steve, is about complacency. In a strange way, now hear me out on this, in a strange way, this injury crisis at Newcastle has actually helped you in a way because there's no complacency there whatsoever. Yeah. It's introduced this thing where there's this sort of siege mentality where you're down to the bare bones and everybody just has to perform. There's no nobody can afford to have an off day, and that mentality is kind of has dragged you through some pretty big games. Chelsea, on the other hand, as soon as they got that equaliser, mind you, what a great free kick from Raheem Sterling. Brilliant. It was a beauty. But there was almost this air of complacency crept in with them straight away. And that's personified by that, I don't know whether it was a back pass, I don't know what Thiago Silva was trying to do. But there was just this laziness and sort of affability of we've got this now, we're back in the game. But showed nothing of the guile or sort of will to win. And to be fair, as much as I hate saying it, Newcastle thoroughly deserved that win.
Yeah.
And
Chelsea
if for nothing more than the fact that Newcastle are never complacent and Chelsea were.
Yeah, Chelsea were off in the want to win that game for sure. I mean, the only team that wanted to win that game was Newcastle, and that was evidence in Thiago Silva there. As for the Boro, I'm not doom and gloom. I get that it's a long season. We've been following the Boro for a long time. It's not my first rodeo. I get and understand, where we're coming from. I think we're still going to do it our way. We're still going to do it the Carrick way. We're building a team. We've got a lot of youngsters. We're going into that method of building from our reserves, building from our young academy, and I really like that. But we just need to look at the defensive capabilities because the stats and the writing's on the wall now that we are leaking too many goals, especially away from home. What it is, I don't know, obviously the crowd's not there backing us up, being that 12th man, whatever it may be, but we just need to have a look at our defensive capabilities and whether the pairings we've got, when we've got different pairing abilities on the bench to try and change it up a little bit because we just need to do that for me. And we do that, we rotate the squad a little bit. Because Carrick is a man of consistency in terms of his selections. He's also a man of consistency in making substitutions after the 75th minute. I am all for the way Carrick plays the game. I am all for the way Carrick is going to manage our team. I think he is an absolute genius, one of the best managers we've ever had. He's got a bright future as a manager. But we just need to see him dip into that squad rotation now of your Matt Clarks and have a look at different people in different positions because what we saw on the weekend, right, and it's not just this weekend. What we've seen over the past few games now is Middlesbrough have a very bad, leaky defence. And whether we need to start looking at putting hands on chests and saying, look, my fault, I'll get better. Whether it needs to be down to the coaching staff saying we need to focus here on defensive. Whether it needs to be a focus on the midfield boys getting back and helping out more in terms of Howsons and Hackneys rather than focusing on how well we're getting forward and them turning around and helping out. It's up to them. I trust that Boro will get it right. I know it is all a big learning curve. Carrick's first time in charge of a club, first time managing. Obviously he had that little stint at Man United. This is the first time that it is his reins to pull. He will pull them. I guarantee it. We'll be right coming home on midweek. I just want to see us concede less. That's all I want to see. I saw it at Leicester. I saw the potential that is there that can happen. I just pray that we can find that consistency to do that performance week in, week out. But I love this team. I'm not going anywhere. We will be up there roundabouts because we're just too good of a club to not be up there in roundabouts. So trust the process. Ugly game. We put it behind us. We move forward. We'll do it the Boro way, not that Toon way, which is a bit weird and a bit black and white. Not that Sunderland way, which is a little bit catty way and Jack Clark's and that. We'll do it the Boro way through the iron that built their
just
bridges.
Completely miserably
right,
fail
the
at
Boro will be okay.
Khaki.
Right. So,
Khaki
that's it.
Khaki
That's all I
wear.
got.
Yeah, khaki wear, brilliant. I love the use of the English language this morning. It's been fantastic, fellas. We've completely ignored the sport again, so we can't let this one slip. Tell you what, we'll do a bit of sports news and then we'll be back.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
I think we've been a bit deflated this morning. 2/3 of us, even near 3/4 of us, slightly deflated this morning. So not the usual banter, happiness and rivalry coming through. But one thing that will glue us together is what the fact, F-A-C-T. Yeah, F-A-C-T. I can't even spell it.
You had to be so careful there, didn't you?
I got to that point where I thought, am I about to put my foot in it? Right, let's be absolutely sure. Yeah, thanks, Ted.
You're just looking down at your head like you're counting like
Oh,
National Spelling Bee.
I thought I was going to get it wrong. He did. Anyway, give us your three. Go on, give us your three. Give us a reminder.
Right, so the first clue was this one-off feat happened over 10 days in 2013. The second clue was, to make it happen, Rafa was the gaffer and Fernando Torres scored. The third clue was, what started in Munich ended in Amsterdam. What started in Munich ended in Amsterdam. And Dave, I believe you are the latest challenger.
I am. My name's Dave. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Great. What's your answer, Dave?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think Dunil helped me here. He steered me on the right path because Dunil, his guess was... Sorry, his well-reasoned fact was Chelsea won the Europa League, and you said, well, not exactly it, but it had to happen for this fact to take place. So I think...
Correct.
I think Chelsea's victory on that occasion made them the first English club to win all 3 European competitions.
Is not the right answer.
Oh!
I honestly thought you had it. It is not the right answer.
Shocked
which
and
means
stunned.
Wow.
Which means I'm down to the last clue.
Because that was the first time an English club had won all three UEFA competitions at the time. Oh, well, there you go. All right.
I'm unbearably smug
Very good
now.
guess.
Give us four. Give us number 4 then.
The fourth and final clue. Winning the first trophy was a first, but so was winning the second. Winning the first trophy was a first, but so was winning the second.
God, I was so confident that was right.
Far out.
Really good this, Ted. I've got no idea, mate.
That is a very good one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've got Daz gets in the
Balotelli,
studio.
final answer.
Yeah. Daz is going to come in and say Mario Balotelli.
Oh, you will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or a dad joke.
It'll be a great answer. Answer.
Or it'll be, stop using my music.
Yeah, well, there could be that as well. I'm sure he doesn't own it. I'm sure he's not the talented pianist.
Yes. He knows what.
That's so difficult to say on radio.
Do us a favour, mate. Do us a favour. Don't spell it out. Don't try and
We are walking the line this morning. I love
Dear
it.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, my heart just went
you
through
use
my
it in a
chest
sentence,
there.
I'm a quivering wreck.
Use it in a sentence. My goodness. Go on.
Anyway.
Bring us home, Teddy boy.
We've got about 11 minutes to go. Can we at least have some good North East news? Can we focus on Newcastle for a second? So we've got Eddie Howe lined up as well, courtesy of nufc.co.uk.
Should we have Eddie first, and then we'll get Steve's reaction to it?
Should we? Is that how you want to play?
Let's hear Eddie.
Yeah.
Okay. Edward. Cue Edward.
Yeah, brilliant response from the players today. That was it was a really tough build up to the game because a lot of players away, very, very small group to train, but the lads responded really well, and the lads that came back from internationals I thought performed really well today. And there was a real energy in always with our team. I think a really good character about the performance. I thought we deserved to win and can't compliment the players enough.
Yep. There you go. So he was a rather happy chappy, as you would expect.
Yeah, definitely, and he had a good right to be. I mean, we're getting to the situation now where, the bar staff from Shearers or supporters out the crowd are probably going to have to take their boots, because the injury crisis is getting to such a ridiculous state of affairs now. And as a player comes back in Isaac, we'll have a player go out in Willock. So, I've got to be honest, going up to the ground, I was and ahhing. I think I predicted 2-1 win for Newcastle on Friday. By the time I got onto my own podcast on NUFC Matters on Friday night, I was hearing talk of Gordon being injured and thinking, I'd settle for a draw. So to come away with 3 points in a 4-1 win, at the start of what is probably going to be the busiest 32-day period over Christmas we've ever had in our recent history, was just fantastic. And it started off well. Isaac got the first goal, of course, and he is just so cool, calm and collected when he gets in those positions. Lewis Miley with a wonderful through ball. He could have had a shot. It would have been, he would have been forgiven to have a dig at that age, trying to get his first goal in the Premier League, but he used his brain, used his vision, slotted the ball through to Isaac, who put the ball in the back of the net, and looked as if he'd never been away. But then, for me, Newcastle pegged back with a wonderful free kick. Ted mentioned it earlier. Raheem Sterling, stroking the ball, past Pope, didn't have a chance with it really. Precision and perfection really from Sterling. And then Newcastle, Joe Linton should have done better with a header. I think it would have been chalked off for VAR anyway, because Bruno pulled Sanchez's shirt in the build-up. Trippier hit the bar with a wonderful free kick, trying to get his team ahead again. But it was that 90-second period, just around the hour mark, which saw Newcastle, steal the points from Chelsea, win with two great goals. Gordon with another assist for Lascelles. What he was doing that far up the pitch, I'll never know. But wonderful headed goal, showed Joe Linton how to do it. And then Joe Linton, almost a minute later, almost in anger as well, I think, for probably missing the chance earlier, blasted the ball into the back of the net. It would have took the net off if it hadn't been fastened. With a great goal, and that was it. Game over. We saw a red card. Reece James got sent off with a second yellow. Very petulant behaviour. Could have been avoided, that, I think, had the referee got a grip of the game earlier on. He didn't really book the Chelsea players. In the first half. He waited till the second half, and I think a lot of that could have been avoided if he'd just been a bit stronger in the first half. And then player of the season so far, we'll keep mentioning him, Anthony Gordon, another wonderful finish, to make it 4-1. And I don't think 4-1. I think 4-1 was a fair reflection on the game. I think Newcastle could have had more. We've already mentioned the Joe Linton chance, which he should have had in the back of the net. But 4-1, I think, was a fair result. And for Newcastle, it was a great start, as I say, to this busy period coming up. Man of the match, you could pick any one of four. For me, I thought Tino Livramento and Kieran Trippier were outstanding. You expected from Trippier. Tino Livramento looks like he's been at left back all his life, bearing in mind we bought him as a right back, but he was absolutely outstanding. Lewis Miley, I've already mentioned him, was superb. But if I was pushed and I had to give a man of the match to one person, it would be Bruno. He was superb. Everything he did was on point. He kept his emotions in check, and he was superb. I couldn't speak more highly of him. And ultimately, for me, where will we be when it comes to Boxing Day? Like I said at the start of my review there, I genuinely feel it's getting to the point where it's going to be people from Shearer's Bar making up the bench. That's how bad it is. 3 goalkeepers on the bench and a whole host of youngsters with Willock and Longstaff both joining the walking wounded. But look, we take it game by game. We've got PSG Tuesday, out of the frying pan into the fire, and then we've got Manchester United next weekend. It's a hell of a week. If Newcastle Newcastle can come back from PSG with a point, or dare say a 3, that sets us up lovely for Manchester United next week. And Manchester United's still the only team in the Premier League that Newcastle have never finished above. Well, you know, it's neck and neck at the minute, but we could give ourselves some breathing space by beating them next week. And a lot of people saying, what's the most important game, PSG or Manchester United? They're both important, because, you know, if Newcastle can go to PSG and get a result, and who say they can't? We're beating them 4-1 already this season. They've got injury issues as well. If Newcastle can go out there and get a result, then the season is much alive. And tongue in cheek, lads, the quadruple's still on at this moment in time.
Of course it is.
I thought the fans were a bit quiet though, Steve.
I'll tell you, I think needs singling out for a little bit of praise. Now, I've done this before with them as well, Steve. As Lascelles, it just continues to you know, plucked from obscurity, really, in terms of like sort of the squad depth and all that kind of thing. He's coming. He's you know, he's grabbing goals now as well. You know, he's absolutely doing himself every bit of justice to maybe earn a contract extension, or at least maybe a decent move when the time comes.
It's amazing to see somebody like Jamal Lascelles, you know, rise from like a phoenix rising from the ashes. He's resurrected his career, and you know, that's what Eddie Howe's done, not just to him, but he's done it to, you know, to so many players over the course of the last couple of years. You know, Joe Linton, Miguel Miron, Matt Ritchie, still, you know, running around like a, you know, like a youngster at times. It's what Eddie Howe's done to the club is remarkable, and again, he's just cracking on. He doesn't take any of the praise himself. He just likes to crack on and do the job, and you know, we'll pat ourselves on the back, you know, when our career's over. That's his mantra. Yeah. But yeah, look, it's great. It's been a good weekend for us. Not so good for you boys, but we've had a good weekend. But as I say, the games are coming thick and fast now, and you know, we'll be turning our attentions to Champions League tomorrow.
You know what I need to do now, though, Steve?
Go on.
I need to stop predicting 1-0 wins for Newcastle, because obviously, you know, they were getting beat every time I was doing that. So I need to find a new. I need to experiment with my system now.
I keep saying, it's crazy. I said Chelsea would win this. Newcastle come back and win 4-1. And I said it the other week as well. Was it against? I think it was PSG. I'm like, PSG are going to win. They end up beating them for, you know, smashing them. So you just need me to predict the other team, and then you end up winning like 4 or 5-0. It's incredible. So this weekend, Newcastle are going to win 6-0 against PSG and PSG. So there you go. So Newcastle will absolutely destroy PSG. Mbappe will get red carded in the first 10 minutes, and Newcastle will win 8-0.
Okay.
Am I in a parallel universe here?
I think so. For once, I'm actually speechless. Have we had any more guesses? Because we are running out of time for
guesses. We're going to have to give the answer.
No more.
We're going to have to give the answer.
Oh, get in. Absolutely brilliant. So, now let's have the piano music one more time.
Daz's piano music. By the way, he's late. He's just texted me to say, traffic's terrible. I'll try and get there for 9. I hope so, mate. That's when your show starts.
So, today's What the Fact. The first clue was, this one-off feat happened over 10 days in 2013. The second clue was, to make it happen, Rafa was the gaffer and Fernando Torres scored. The third clue was, what started in Munich ended in Amsterdam. And your final clue was, winning the first trophy was a first, but so was winning the second. You want your answer?
Go on.
Chelsea are the only team to be holders of the Europa League and the Champions League at the same time.
Oh, I knew that one. No, I did. Because I read that last week. Because when you unveiled What the Fact.
Yes.
FACT.
C.
When you did, I did a bit. I thought I was going to throw it back at you the following day, so I did a bit. And I came across that Chelsea, the only team to hold the two together at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. So
I didn't think.
In 2012, the Blues won their first ever Champions League, obviously. Yep. The following season, with Rafa Benitez in charge, the club won the Europa League final on May the 15th.
Yeah.
Given that the Champions League final was due on May the 25th, for 10 days only, Chelsea held both titles.
Yes. Excellent. Well done.
And then lost to Newcastle 4-1.
Yeah, well, yeah. Or how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I mean,
couldn't win an argument.
10 years later, whatever. You know what I mean? You know, they go to Newcastle and get smacked 4-1. And you got Poch saying...
And they'll get relegated because of...
How much was their bench worth again, Steve?
Our bench was worth 15 million, Chelsea's bench? And their bench was worth 230 million.
Dear me.
Can we have some of it, please?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How mad is that, lads? How mad is
I'll
that?
accept handouts. I'll accept handouts. I don't mind.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
He's here. Fellas, he's here.
Good morning, gentlemen.
He's made it.
He's made it.
Good of you to turn up.
lad.
I'm sorry I'm a
Well
little bit
done.
late. I've been tickling the ivories.
No, you're fine, mate. Ted was happy to take over the morning show. He's been looking for your job for a while, so just watch him, by the way.
He's irreplaceable.
Indeed.
He's irreplaceable. That's how he does.
All right, fellas, we're done and dusted. We're going to go out with a Christmas song and a Christmas belter. You might not like it, but you do when you've had a few beers, I'm telling you.
Good stuff. Been a good morning, lads.
Good show.
Fantastic Monday, lads. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Have a good one.
And here's Shaking Stevens. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant. Love it.
See you, boys.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Snow is falling.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the north.